Hey guys, so this is just a quick tutorial on how to use Astro Bot. So the first thing you're going to do when you see the bot open is you're going to paste your activation key in. And that's the key that you got in the email, the second email that we sent out. Now, some people are having troubles activating their key, and that's because they're having a space either before or after their key, so just make sure that when you paste it in, there's no space at the end and there's no space at the beginning. So you hit activate, and the first thing you'll see is this Google window. Mine says I'm already logged in because I've logged in already, but when you open the bot for the first time, you're going to have to log in to whatever Google account you want the CAPTCHAs to be used on. So once you log in, you click this button at the top, and you'll see two windows. This window over here, which is your CAPTCHA window, so that's where all the CAPTCHAs are going to show up, and then this window over here, which is your main window. So let's take a look at the profiles page first. So this page is where you create profiles. It's fairly self-explanatory. So let's make a basic profile, call it Astro, give it some fake credit card, fake CVV, fake expiration date. The number one thing you have to make sure is that you fill out everything in here except for address too. That's the only field that isn't required. Alright, and then you just click add profile, and now your profile is set up, and it tells you that at the top. If you want to edit a profile, you click on it over here, and then you click the edit button, and it'll populate all the fields, and then you can just click save once you change something. So let's say I want to change the zip code, and then I hit save, and then the profile is saved. And then finally, if you want to delete a profile, you just click this button down here. So now that we have a profile, let's create a task. So as you can see, the profile is here. If you have multiple profiles, it'll show all of them in this drop-down list. So you can choose which type of task you want it to be. So either it's an online task for the online drops on Thursdays, or an in-store registration task. And that's for in-store registration sign-up on Tuesdays. So every Tuesday, Supreme opens a sign-up, and you kind of fill out some information on their website. It's like a 1-minute raffle type thing, and once it closes, they select like 500-ish people per store to allow them to attend the releases on Thursday. So let's start with an online task, and in this drop-down you'll see all the items that are releasing that week, and this list is updated every Thursday at 6:30 a.m. Eastern. So right after the UK drop finishes, this list will be updated just to make sure that we have the right keywords and the right product names. In addition, we're going to be adding a way to enter your own keywords. Say if you want to test on a product and none of the products in this list are in stock, and that'll be up in the next week or so. So the next thing you want to do is pick which size and color you want. In the future, you're going to be able to kind of add sizes and colors, and then say the first size sells out, then it'll go for the next size. But right now, we only support one size and one color at a time. So either choose a specific size or color combination, or choose random if you don't care what size or what color you get. So say you want one of each of these, then in the future you'll be able to make one for each thing, but right now my recommendation is just to make one task for each combination that you want. So let's say I want a medium black Hellraiser trench coat. So the next thing is you pick the proxy that you want. So either you can have a random proxy, and what this will do is it'll use every request that the bot sends will use a different proxy. So this kind of minimizes your chances of getting a single proxy banned. The other option is to choose which proxy you want. So right now I have no proxies entered into the bot, so the only option is none. So if you don't want to use any proxies at all, then make sure that you use none. And then finally you have the priority number and the cart number. So the priority number is basically, it determines like which task gets which CAPTCHA token first. So if you want to get, say, 5 items from a specific drop, and you expect one to sell out really fast and the rest to sell out kind of slow, then you want to give the first one a high priority number like 50 or whatever you want, and then the rest of them should just be less than that because you want them to get the CAPTCHA tokens afterwards, because whatever gets the CAPTCHA token first is the one that's going to check out the fastest. So you have your task. For cart right now, this doesn't do anything. It's going to be implemented within the next week as well, and it basically allows you to put multiple items in the same cart to save on shipping costs. So we have our task, and all you have to do is hit create. Now, before we go to the task list, let's just look at the mass task option. So the only difference with the mass task is, say I have like 10 profiles and I want the same item on all 10 profiles. Instead of having to make a single task for each one, you can kind of just select all of them, and then when you hit create, you can also toggle all of them. And then when you hit create, it's going to create one task for each profile with the same information. So in terms of making an in-store registration task, the process is very similar. All you have to do is switch it over to in-store registration, and then it'll ask you if you want to go to Brooklyn, Manhattan, or LA. So you select one of those, you select a priority number, and then you hit create, and you'll see your task show up in the task list. So, alright, so let's take a look at the settings before we get started on the actual tasks. So for the proxies, you can either import from a file, and the format for the file should be one proxy per line, like this, IP port user pass, or just IP port. So that's what your file should look like. The other option is to just paste them into this text box and then hit save, and you'll see that the proxies will show up right here. So, and then when you have your proxies here, say you want to delete a proxy, let's add 2 more. Say you want to delete a couple proxies, you can select these and then hit delete selected. You can also delete all of them. So those are your options. And then for the global proxy, so this is only necessary if you're running on a server, because Supreme essentially has almost all server providers banned. So the way our CAPTCHA window works is it needs to visit Supreme's website to start. And if you're running on a server, then it can't visit Supreme's website because it's banned. So you'll need a global proxy, which will essentially put that CAPTCHA window on a proxy. So let's say I have this as my global proxy, and then you just hit save. So for your 2CAPTCHA API key, 2CAPTCHA is a CAPTCHA service that allows you to get a lot of CAPTCHA tokens really quickly, but it's kind of slow during Supreme drops. This is more for, in-store registration, but essentially all you have to do is type in the API key that you get from 2CAPTCHA.com, and then you hit save. In terms of the number of threads per task, so this essentially like request. So right now it'll request 5 tokens for each task that's running. If you want to increase this, it'll cost you a little bit more, but you'll get solutions faster. If you want to decrease it, it'll cost you less, but you get solutions slower. And then whatever you want to set it to, just hit save. If you don't want to use 2CAPTCHA at all, that's perfectly fine. All you have to do is either put a gibberish key here or just put nothing here. I would recommend putting nothing, just because if you have anything in here, it'll start all the threads, and that'll slow down your computer. So only use this if you're actually using 2CAPTCHA. So in terms of importing profiles, so if you click on this link, it'll take you to the web page that has all of the import templates, and if you want to fill those out, then you can import whatever profiles you have back into the bot by just hitting choose file, and you'll see a little window pop up, and then you can kind of click whatever profile you want. And then similarly, if you have a bunch of profiles in the bot and you want to export them to, say, put them on a deactivate the bot and put it on a server, and then you want to have the same profiles, you just hit the export profiles button, and it'll let you save as an XLSX file, a CSV file, a JSON file, or a text file, whatever whatever you want. You can import from any of those 4 file types, so it really doesn't matter. And then for the checkout delay, so auto is the recommended feature for this. This will pull what we recommend every week. So say our checkout delay was too slow the week before, we'll increase it. We kind of monitor that kind of stuff. And then if you're not happy with the auto delay, you're welcome to hit manual and put in whatever delay you want in here. But auto is the recommended feature. So in terms of removing out of stock items, this is part of the multiple items in a single cart feature, which isn't implemented yet, so don't worry about that right now. And then finally, using store credit if available. So if you return an item to Supreme, they'll put store credit on your email. So if you use that same email in your profile, then when it checks out, you have the ability to use that store credit. So if you have this checked and you have store credit on your profile, then it'll use that store credit, and yeah, it's a good way to spend less money and to get rid of any store credit that you have and not have to spend it on bricks. And then finally, we have our tasks page. So there are a bunch of things that you can do on the tasks page. The first thing is starting a task, of course, and either you can select whatever tasks you want to start by just clicking on them. You can hit the shift button and click another task, and then every task in between those two will be selected. The other option is just to hit start all. And then once you've started a task, you can also stop the selected tasks and stop all of the tasks. And then finally, if you want to delete a task, you can delete the selected tasks or delete all of them. So let's take a look at what happens when we start a task. So as you can see, we got this status running up here, and then in the bottom you can see the log, and then it asks for a CAPTCHA in the CAPTCHA window. Now sometimes you'll see a CAPTCHA like this show up. Other times, since we're using invisible CAPTCHA, you won't have to solve at all. It's around like 3 or 4 out of every 5 CAPTCHAs don't have to be solved. So let's solve the CAPTCHA real quick. And then when you hit verify, it'll continue to check out. So because we were using a fake card, the payment failed. Sometimes it depends on like what kind of fake card you're using. Sometimes it'll just get a payment failed instantly, whereas sometimes it'll get into the queue and then the card will be declined. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. As you can see, it failed, so it shows you kind of an X mark over here. If it goes through, you'll see a check mark. Yeah, that's pretty much that for tasks. It's pretty basic and self-explanatory. In terms of the menu, so you have a couple of useful links up at the top here. You have your release guide, which we update weekly. You have the patch notes, which kind of explains any updates that we've made to the bot recently. A link to the online license manager, and in the license manager you can essentially see all of your keys and then deactivate any keys remotely. So if you accidentally leave the bot running on a server that you've closed or anything like that, you can just deactivate it from the website. You have a link to the Slack workspace in case you lost that, a link to our YouTube guides including this one, and a link to the FAQ, and then finally a link to contact us. So if you have any questions, you can always send us an email or send us a DM on Twitter or Slack. And finally, just to deactivate the bot, you can hit deactivate here, or of course you can go to the license manager.